Hi, I'm Grace with A Place for Mom, and today I'm going to explain the ins and outs of home care so you can decide if home care is an option for your loved one. And if it is, by the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of how to find and hire a home care provider. If you have a senior loved one who needs some help throughout the day in order to eat, go to the bathroom, do chores, or maintain their hygiene, you'll want to know if home care is an option for your family. Knowing whether or not home care offers everything your loved one needs can help save you some time by narrowing down the tons and tons of options you have when it comes to getting support with your loved one's care. Home care is a type of senior care that involves a professional caregiver or home care aide visiting your home to provide specific services. The biggest benefit of home care is that the person receiving those services gets to stay in the comfort of their home. You'll probably see this referred to as aging in place, since the senior isn't moving to a new setting like assisted living or memory care. The way it typically works is you reach out to a home care agency and then they meet with you to understand what you're looking for in terms of services and how often you'd like an aide to visit. Some agencies then match you to one specific caregiver, and that aide is the only person coming in to provide care. In some cases, you may have a rotating caregiver. It just totally depends on the agency and your preferences. Once an aide or aides have been paired with a family, everyone works together to decide on what services are needed and how often they need to be provided. Most times, home care agencies complete an initial assessment where they evaluate the senior's activities of daily living, and then decisions are made based on how independent that person seems to be. If that sounds like a long process, there are some ways you can simplify that whole operation. One is to go to aplaceformom.com and get the help of a senior living advisor who will work with you to understand your budget and what services you need, and will actually recommend home care options that already check the boxes you're looking for, so that initial phase of finding an agency is much quicker. It's kind of like they're starting you a bit closer to the finish line. While an agency is the most common way people hire home care, there are independent private caregivers you could hire who don't work for an agency. Using an agency can simplify a lot of the hiring process, and there's the added benefit that if your loved one's caregiver stops working for that agency, the agency is required to fill that role immediately. Whereas if you have a private caregiver that resigns, you'll have to start the search over to hire someone new on your own. There are pros and cons to both options, so if you'd like to learn more, go ahead and check out our article linked in the description. The cost of home care depends on a lot of different factors, like your geographic location, the services and the schedule you select, and the pricing model of the home care provider. It's highly variable. For example, if your loved one lives somewhere with a high cost of living, you'll likely pay a higher hourly rate. State regulations can also affect the cost of home care. Some states mandate that agencies or caregivers are certified, meaning they might charge more because of that certification, while other states have actually capped the cost for home care. If you're working within a very specific budget, like most families are, you'll want to get as specific as possible when it comes to researching price information. So instead of looking for information on average rates across the U.S., make sure you're searching in your specific location to get the best estimate. Home care is a great option when a senior is relatively independent and wants to remain at home. But aging in place becomes less safe and less affordable as a person needs more attention. If your loved one needs someone awake at their home 24/7, senior living might be the better, cheaper option. Or let's say your loved one begins to need more medical assistance. Home care aides help with everyday chores like meal prep, laundry, and transportation, as well as personal care tasks like bathing, dressing, grooming, and toileting. But if your loved one has a serious health condition and requires daily medical care from doctors or nurses, then they'll need to consider hiring a home health care provider, not a home care provider, or moving into a community that can provide proper care. If you do determine that home care is the ideal choice for your loved one, you'll want to interview the agency or independent caregiver before signing any contract. There will be an article in the description on the best questions to ask when trying to choose home care. But overall, you should plan to ask about any licensing or certifications, what services they offer, what their pricing model is, and really anything you think that will give you a good sense of what using that agency or person would be like for your loved one. And even if you don't see a move to a senior living community anywhere in your loved one's future, still ask the home care provider whether they have cancellation or contract termination fees. Sometimes the move to senior living is urgent and unexpected, so knowing how that would impact your home care provider right off the bat can save you headaches later. That's everything I think you should know about home care in order to determine if home care is a good option for you or loved one. If you have any questions or want to offer advice for other caregivers, go ahead and drop those in the comments section. Don't forget, we have a lot of helpful information linked in the description, so check that out before you leave. You can also like this video and subscribe to our channel for more advice on senior care, costs, and caregiving. And to help narrow down your senior care options, whether that's home care or another type of senior living, you can visit aplaceformom.com to work with a senior living advisor at no cost to your family. Thanks for watching.